Happy Saturday to you. I'm like I'm late compared to what I usually say I'm gonna be live on, but um, we gonna make it. We gonna make it. How y'all living? How y'all living? Uh, what's the whoa, 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 mm. I'm gonna play that. What's happening, everybody? What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the Secure Corner Show, where we are here to help you build healthier, happier, and whole relationships with yourself, God, and others while building security that lasts beyond marriage and reserving some space to process all things in relation to where you are in life. This is the type of space and safety you want to be a part of to build on and build through. I'm so excited to be holding space with you today, and I appreciate you joining. We got some more conversation on the way today. Um, and I'm just excited to dive into some things, man. First and foremost, happy Saturday to you. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? What's been the highlight and low light of your week? Highlights of your week? Is there any lowlights to your week? How are you feeling? Yeah. Well, I got that passion fruit instrumental going. Oh my lord, that thing cold. That thing cold, real cold. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I got an hour on me before I got to transition to the rest of my day. It's been a blissful day. It's been a great day, a good day of rest, recharging, recentering, getting some things figured out for what the week is going to hold. Just uploaded my latest lesson in my secure program, so I'm excited about that. We're talking about emotions. You guys got some insight as to what we're going to be diving into throughout that week, just in more detail. We talked about it a couple days ago here on live, so I'm excited to get that going. It's a good day to rest. It's a good day to reset, and it's a good day to have some conversation. Welcome in, everybody. Be sure, number one, um, be sure to share, like, repost this live. Um, and as you're coming in, I want to hear about your week. Life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you? How you feeling? Um, Answering these three questions as you jump in. What is one relationship goal that you have that you want to achieve in the year of 2026? We now have officially 5 months left of the year. 5 months left of the year, fam. 5 months left of the year. If you're not excited about it, I don't know what to tell you. I know it's been rough, but don't tell me my God can't turn it around in 5 months. And don't tell me you don't have what it takes to turn it around in 5 months and to partner with God in doing the same. All right. Um, so I'm excited. What is one area that you are wanting to have and see growth in your relationships in the year of 2026? And if you were to have the healthiest relationship you wanted today, would it be sharing any room with unhealthy wounds or trauma? All right. Let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. You're alone. Unpack that. WRK over on TikTok. What are you alone? What leads you to say that? Again, welcome in everybody. I appreciate y'all a ton. I know it's late. Everybody is on their Saturday. Uh their Saturday binge. So I know it might be a smaller crowd, but I'm here for you. I'm excited. Shoot, I haven't seen the movie, gang, so I don't know. Um I desire to go see the movie. I don't know if I will, but I haven't seen the movie yet. Um but yeah, over on YouTube, appreciate y'all a ton watching and clicking through. Be sure to subscribe, like the live, share it with your friends. I got a new video that's out, breaking down the really a big thing that I see a lot of people struggling with is the idea that they feel they are the placeholder between relationships, between people. And truth is that's not the story you have to invest in. and we break down why that's a common thought and how you can shift from that thought moving forward. So be sure to check out my latest YouTube video. It is on and uploaded, posted on my story as well. So be sure to check that out. Um, because that's a really important conversation, man. A lot of people believe that they're placeholders. A lot of people believe that they're placeholders in relationships, because you constantly run into people who tell you that they're everything, or that you believe it's going to make it to the stage of commitment and long term, only for them to, be healing. You're with them, you're partnering with them, and then they leave you for someone else. And that's kind of what it feels like you're getting dumped and left to the side. And it kind of just reaffirms a lot of the inadequacies that you carry. Like, I don't know if I'm enough to keep somebody, to have a successful relationship, to have a long-term connection. Am I really worth being chosen? Is somebody actually out there that's going to invest in me, even after the time I may spend with them, to help them get to where they want to be and how they're going? And I think it's just really important that we challenge that story and challenge that thought, because there's so many other meanings that we could attribute to that. And sometimes it's hard for us to find it because we're zoomed in on the specificities of the lack that we're experiencing in the moment. I don't have time for Wendy's ads. All right. But that's very important that we catch that. And I think there's so many people that are struggling in that space, relationship after relationship, breakup after breakup, trial after trial. And it just seems like, one, no one's ever ready, or two, just when they're about to get ready, they're not ready with you, even though you were with them. You were helping them, you were pouring into them, you were investing into them. And just to kind of get left behind in the way that you were really sucks. And I think there's a space and time for us to navigate through that 1000%. Um, and I think it starts with us really readdressing a lot of the stories that we're rehearsing in those moments. We talk about it often over here: experience, meaning, and action. Okay. The difference between where you are and where someone else is who's experiencing the very same things you are isn't necessarily trying to get out of it, isn't necessarily a location change, a status change. It's the story we are creating. And, I think I had an awesome Bible study this morning, and we kind of covered a little bit of contentment. And that's kind of where the topic of this comes from, not to go into a Bible study specifically, but contentment is the difference. And contentment is often focused on stories of abundance and what you have plenty of, instead of what you don't have. And in seasons and times like this in life, it's so important that we really, really focus in on what is the stories that we're rehearsing in our minds towards our experiences and what we're having. And what else could this mean? You'll be so surprised at how quick of a shift you can make in your mind when you just start stepping back and asking, what else could this mean? And guess what? It's going to push you out of guess what it's going to push you out to do? It's going to push you out to be in a position where you're going to notice that more times than not, your wantingness to stay where you are is more of a pride thing, not a God thing. It's more of I would just rather feel sorry for myself in this space than it is realizing that whatever it is we're blaming for our positioning to be its fault. Like, it's not that person's fault, that thing's fault. Oftentimes, even though people have a role to play in various different things, we have a responsibility to take what's left and move forward. And I think a lot of people have just become so comfortable um, with being validated with their experiences that they don't desire to move on. And that's just not healing. There's a time to validate, but then there's also a time to get moving. There's also a time to reframe. There's also a time for us to re-engage. There's also a time for us to do with what we have left, instead of constantly complain about what we don't have and making that the highlight and center of our life. And the decision is always ours. Once we become aware, I think a lot of people don't realize that you have the ability to change your perspective, to change your approach. You have a choice. I know where you are isn't favorable. You would rather be someplace else. You thought you would be someplace else by this time of life, but you have a choice of the perspective you want to carry with the season you're in and what it's preparing in you for where you're going. You have a choice. You have a choice. And when I came to that realization, it freed me. So I want to give you game so that you can experience the same freedom. And it's the same thing when it comes to acknowledging that you're not a placeholder. You're not a placeholder, gang. You were never designed to just be that person that just helps other people get to where they are and you don't get to where you want to be. You are not the person that is in a position where you just simply cannot connect with anybody and have the relationship you've always wanted. And I know that your immediate response is to be argumentative and to put up a fight and to defend the belief that you don't and can't and won't. But if you're just open enough to experience and just engage with the conversation, I think you'll get a lot out of it. A lot of people believe they're the placeholder. You don't have to be. You have a choice. And the choice is asking, what else could this mean? And sometimes it's less about being a placeholder. And if you ever find yourself identifying as the placeholder because of people who left you, chances are you've clinged to a potential, an outcome, or a version of that person that A, you did not really experience, or B, you just simply over identified with the relationship because you believe in one way or another, having the relationship, having the marriage, having the girl, having the money, having this, having that means that you are now worth something. But that all comes from lack in performative beliefs, not actual stability and abundance. And that's the difference. And I think that's something worth being curious about and engaging with. I don't trust myself in relationships anymore. I don't trust. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that carry that sentiment. I think the question becomes, what are we going to do about that? Are we just going to sit there? Or are we going to be willing to engage in a process to heal that? What's up, love after? What's up, Sean? Good to see you, my guy. Sean in the building. I saw your stream last night, man. I popped in for a little bit. Appreciate the love. Hope all is well. Hope you and the family are doing well. What's happening, Lori? Good to see you. Okay. Happy Saturday to all you guys walking in. I appreciate you guys a ton. Shout out to Amber Alert. Shout out to Amber Alert. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, y'all, I appreciate you guys a ton. Hey, what's your life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10? How you feeling this Saturday? All right, this is a nice Saturday reset, just having some good, safe conversation. And the highlight of the conversation being some contentment. How to deal with controlling parents? That's a great question, user. Um, well, one, I think, I guess I would want to know, what do you mean when you say controlling parents? What do you mean when you say you have controlling parents? What does that mean? What does that look like? I think that's the first question. Because what you may call controlling isn't really controlling. So, shout out to 10. Let's go. Being at a 10 is amazing. And then also want to ask y'all too, as y'all coming in, life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And then what is the biggest relationship goal that you have that you want to achieve in 2026? We got 5 months left in the year, y'all. The year has came and went. And what better way to start making adjustments than now? In general, they try to control me in my life. Yeah, well, I don't think that's specific enough, user. I still don't know what you mean. Explain that a little bit more. And what ways are they trying to control you in your life? And also be able and share your age too. I think that's important as well in this conversation. Very important if we're going to actually touch on it in any kind of way. You dress, okay, you're 18, and just how you dress, if you put on mascara, or where you go and why. So what else could it mean besides them being controlling? I remember being 18 and thinking my parents were too much too. What else could it mean besides them being controlling? What else could it possibly mean? Just think of all the possibilities. What else could it mean? What's up, everybody? Welcome in. I appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to share your life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10. How you feeling? Hey, I appreciate you, Lori. What's up, Doc, in the building? I just saw you in live, man. I was doing some coursework, man. I appreciate you for stopping by as always, my G. If y'all on YouTube, y'all hearing some Step in the Name of Love in the background. Said I know. Hey, that is somebody's birthday tonight. Hey, somewhere. All right. And I know, hey, somebody's gonna celebrate too. That's that cookout music, man. It's that cookout music. Come on, man. One thing's for sure. I'm gonna put on my dancing shoes. All right. And go out and step. So they did not even want me to study. What do you mean? They didn't want you to study. They didn't want you to study what? Like go to school? Like what? They didn't want you to study what? I'm gonna step. Ooh. In the name of love. All right. Hey, yeah. See, I know there's somebody breaking up the champagne. You better go ahead. So, when you wanted to go to high school, yeah, you just got to explain a little bit more. I just feel like I'm lost. I'm like lost in the weeds. Maybe because I'm dancing too much. So, like, your parents are you're claiming your parents are controlling. You gave an example of not being able to wear mascara and the way you dress. You said you wanted to go to high school. I'm I'm missing something. I'm missing a lot. So like give me all the specific when you say all right, so maybe this will be helpful too to like identify. When you say your parents are controlling, give me 3 of the biggest ways they are controlling you. Not I want you to think of the biggest like what are the biggest things that you're experiencing that lets you say my parents are controlling me. Just everything can't be the answer. That's probably what you feel, but that's probably because we're zooming in so much on certain things. It's not to dismiss what you're feeling. I want to make room for that. But in order for this to be as productive as possible, I need you to give me like 3 big specific examples of your parents doing something that led you to feel you're being controlled. One, two, three. Because there was a day, and I say this because you're talking to somebody who, you know, grew up obviously in a well, not obviously, but in a particular setting in my home. Parents were strict, wasn't able to do a whole lot. And there was a time where I used to think the same. And then I grew. I matured. And some of the things that I used to look at with such heinous towards my parents for and thinking they were so controlling really was them, one, doing the best they could with what they had, two, being very loving and protective, sometimes overprotective, but nonetheless protective. And thirdly, um, I look back on those moments and I look at them with gratitude because it was something that helped me be able to process these things healthily. Can't even date or be friends with guys. They try to control who I'm friends with. Okay. So I couldn't date either. I wasn't allowed to date. Um, don't let me go out just for shopping. Okay. Um, so I want you to think about it like this because we are Muslims. Okay. So that's even different, right? So that's different too. Not to say that that's um not to say that that's every Muslim household, but I think that context makes a lot of that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Not to necessarily say that it's the faith and the structure of it. I think stricter households are very much more prominent in Muslim in the Muslim household. Again, I just want to make sure that this is considered. I am a graduate the University of North Texas with a religion degree. I don't know if you see that back there. That thing shining back there. That thing look good, don't it? It's real. Okay. I really got a degree. All right. Um, but I say that because I did some study and some work in those spaces to perhaps prepare me for conversations like this. Um, so here's the thing that I think is worth considering too. One that just gives decent context to maybe what is happening and what is happening more of, and maybe the view and lens in which they're moving through. Okay. Um, but I want you to be curious with me for a second, right? Because one, you're 18, um, which probably means you may not necessarily have as many options or directions to go at this current stage in your life. Would that be put a one if you agree, two if you disagree? Like if you were to leave today, you got somewhere to go, you got housing, you're taken care of, and so on and so forth. And that's not to encourage like running away by any means. Um, I don't think that necessarily is the answer, but I think those I would be lying to you if I told you that that probably wasn't. They say they may kill you. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty tough. And are you like? Do you live in the states or do you live out of country? I live in the states, so I don't know. I don't know where you live. Um, Sweden. Oh wow. Shout out to Sweden in the building. Yeah. So I don't know what jurisdiction goes on over there. I can't even speak to that. So I'll leave that alone. So I really think. So what do you feel like is the criteria then for you to be able to become ready to move out? Like, what are they expecting from you to be like, hey, you'll be able to move out and leave if you do this? Has that been a conversation? Because I do want to. I won't say that. I won't. I guess I'll leave that alone. Let me ask it that way. Is there any kind of criteria? Do you have siblings? Are you the only child? What does that kind of look like? Because it's very possible. I mean, obviously, we probably have two very different experiences when it comes to growing up, being a child, having parents. Okay, there is no way. Well, okay, so there's no way because that's what they've said, or there's no way because that's just what you believe based off of previous behaviors you've seen. Yeah, okay. So now it's not your parents, it's your brother. Yeah, I just think there's like we're kind of everywhere on this one. Hey, I appreciate you, Elucin. Thank you so much. I hope it's been helpful. We have four siblings. He's the oldest one. Okay, so all right, four siblings. He's the only one, and I have a brother and a sister. Okay, all right. So you have some siblings, and what do your siblings think of this situation? A brother and sister. I'm assuming they're older or younger. Your oldest is you have an older brother, and then maybe sounds like younger brothers and sisters. What is their thinking process on this? You're the youngest. You're 18, and you're saying that your older brother is really the one that is kind of running the show. Is that what you're saying? I appreciate everybody who's dropping in. I appreciate everybody who's dropping in. Be sure to ask your questions in the chat. It's a nice Saturday reset. Um, okay. Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of context here, right? And I think there's still some pieces that are missing. And so please keep in mind that what I'm about to share is definitely coming from a limited view and not from a holistic picture. And I don't know if I'd be able to even get that. I want to say this with all that in mind, I think there is a world, okay, where okay, so you said basically there's a chance that, well, in your mind, you're saying there's no way you'd be able to move out unless you get married, and you don't want to get married. And obviously, getting married for the reason of moving out isn't necessarily the best, isn't the best space. And I want to leave space and room for it to feel unfair, user. I do. Because I can tell that this is definitely a lot of an emotionally charging kind of moment. And again, not to dismiss anything that you described. I remember being 18 and I maybe didn't think I had the best of parents. Um, and I think there's a truth to the statement, okay, that when you are, and I'm not sure if this is something that you may fully agree with, but just listen to this aspect. And I thank you for sharing that you're not ready for a husband. I think that's honest. And I don't think we should ever move into a position where we are marrying for the sake of getting out of a current space that we're in, um, because we don't really know who we're marrying or whatever the case is, right? I don't necessarily think that's the greatest idea. But I want you to think about it like this. I think there's a lot of truth to this statement that when we're children, we idolize our parents or we idolize the people that raised us, who we felt raised us in some type of decent capacity. Maybe it's not the best, it's not the worst, but we were taken care of to some degree. Okay, when you're a child and you don't even know any better, you're 3 years old, 4 years old, 2 years old, right? Like you idolize your parents. They're your superheroes. Your caregivers, they're your superheroes. And then when you become a teenager, you demonize them. When you become a teenager, you feel like you know more than you do. You feel like you know more than other people around you. Um, you feel like you know better. You know what you want for your life. You have the answers. You're good. And a lot of the decisions that your parents can do for you and make towards you can rub off on you in the wrong way. Okay, and so we lead to villainizing and demonizing our parents. They're the worst. We use terms like always and never to describe their behaviors, to describe their treatment. And even though we feel like it's very accurate in the moment because of a moment or maybe moments that we're zooming in on that has us feeling some type of way, um, we kind of miss the bigger portion that we don't necessarily see too often until we continue living. And we recognize that as we grow further into our adulthood, we humanize them. And when we humanize them, that doesn't necessarily mean that we excuse their behaviors because it may not have been in the best of manners. Um, but we humanize them. And when we humanize them, we recognize that a lot of the people that took care of us, parents, all the things, they did the best they could with what they had, even if what they were doing wasn't the best, wasn't the most helpful, wasn't the most beneficial, and oftentimes, wasn't the healthiest. But it doesn't mean that they weren't trying their best. They were just doing their best to what they knew how. And so we humanize them by giving a lot of grace to the behaviors they're expressing, even though we don't fully agree. And obviously, if it were us having our own kids moving on, we would learn from them what they did and what they didn't do so we don't repeat the same behaviors to the children that we would carry. Why would I tell you this? Because being 18 kind of puts you right in that category where it's kind of like, not because of your age, and I don't want to necessarily move that at that direction because of your age, but I'm just listening to some of the things that you're describing. And a lot of this is coming from a very many factors that we're zooming in on that in a lot of ways possibly comes from comparison. In a lot of ways comes from us being able to not do what we see so many other people our age being able to do, that we are associating to freedom that maybe does have a taste of freedom, right? And we're not here to minimize that. But I think we're in a position where, because we have yet to really experience so many things that we think we want to, or we are ready to, or in some ways we are just desiring to, just to be out there, just to have fun, just to experience, just to do things without being helicoptered over, controlled, all the things. We're zooming in so far on that we're missing anything and everything that could possibly be abundant about where we are and the opportunity that we have in front of us to be able to engage in it, that allows us to move through a season like this healthily. Okay. And yeah, I get you, user. I definitely get you. You just want small things and you want to do different things. What's up, Lily? Good to see you. Hope all is well. What's your life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10? Let me know. I get you. Yeah, there's a lot of things you want to do. There's a lot of things that you want you want to help. You want to just experience, right? You're not asking for a lot, all the things. Um, but we also recognize too that sometimes, especially in a season like this where it doesn't feel like we have much of a choice but to kind of abide, it may feel like it's the worst thing, or that, oh, well, if I just give it up and if I don't engage in it and if I just look to approach it differently and change my perspective, then everybody else around me wins. I don't want my parents to win. I don't want my brother to win. I don't want everybody to feel like they got one up on me. I think it's a better approach, not because we're trying to, um, submit to anything or we're looking weak or small. I think this is something that is exposing in us some of the things that we really want to actually address, so that we learn how to navigate this season a little bit healthily. I want to share a little bit of my story. Again, I grew up in a very Christian household, strict home. Parents didn't allow us to do a whole lot. We've seen a whole lot. We've been exposed to various things as kids, such as death in the family at early ages to um, teen pregnancy from other siblings in the home, or at least, they were taken in as siblings. Um, of some kind. And there was a lot of things based on those decisions that we weren't allowed to do. Like we weren't allowed to date. We weren't allowed to go everywhere and do everything with our hood rat friends. We weren't allowed to stay out and be out just going everywhere and doing everything with everybody. We weren't allowed over time, things like sleepovers and all that kind of stuff. Nah, that fell off. I mean, we had a couple, but it fell off. There was if it was always one of those things, and maybe a lot of y'all can relate. Depending on the parents you had, I had the type of parents that they would say, "Hey, if we don't know the parents of the person that you are trying to connect with, you're trying to go out and go places with, then it's a no." I dealt with the kind of parents that were very, back and forth with their with what they said versus what they did. And that's something that wounded me, right? Even though they were loving and they took care of us, they provided for us. And my parents did us well. And they still do us well. Okay. I currently still live at home with my parents as I'm building this business and engaging in things and just being in the present moment. And I share that in a lot of the story that I have. Being 26 years old. Okay. But this is what I've learned, right? Because you asked the question, how did you fix that? That's such a great question, bro. Sis, I'm not sure who you are, ma'am, sis, bro, sis, but regardless, um, how I fixed that was being honest about two things. Okay, sis, appreciate you. Okay, I was honest about two things. Okay, number one, I was honest about the fact that I was blaming my family and my parents for far too much. This is a tough conversation because we typically don't care to have those conversations at 18. I started having that when I was around 20, 21. Okay. So I'm giving you game that's going to put you a little bit further than me. Okay. I had to be honest because there was a lot of things that I was blaming my parents for due to their overprotectiveness of us, coddling of us, that I didn't feel I was prepared for compared to my counterparts and peers that were having jobs, filling out job applications, opening up bank accounts that seemed like they were living, right? They were loving life. They were able to go places, do things, have fun. And here I was still having to report in, still having to ask to go places, not having money, not having the privileges that so many other people around me had. I had to get to a place where I was honest and saying, you know what? I am blaming them for more than what they need to have. And what do I mean by that? I was blaming them for a lot of things that I wasn't able to do. It's their fault. They didn't teach me. They didn't grasp this from me. They don't bother to do this. My parents never do that. They always do this. They always go up against their word. They're always trying to keep us from doing things. I was the type of person that used to get frustrated at the fact that I didn't even feel like I was able to make decisions for myself even if they were the wrong decisions. That's how coddled I felt at one point or another. And there's moments where it can still show up and they're not even moving in the same direction. It's just how I survived those times in my life. I used to really believe, man, like they were so in the way of the life that I wanted to live. And it kind of goes back to the idolize, demonize, humanize stages that we all experience as we grow and grow and grow and grow. That the villainized perspective came from, yeah, like I feel like they were in the way. What I had to come to terms with is like, hey, they are not, they did the bet, they're doing the best with what they can and what they know how to. And it's my responsibility to figure out how can I manage this without feeling like the only answer is to leave. When I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 20, I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have another I didn't have anybody that to stay with. I didn't have I yeah, there was many times growing up, y'all get a whooping and you pack a little bag, you just throw stuff in there. thinking you finna run away. You just got your bag ready and packed just in case one day you want to be bold enough to go. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, you ain't been there. You got whooped. You got enough whoopings. And you was like, yeah, gang, I'm out of here. Me and my toys and the little pair of shoes that I got were gone. Okay. I used to have plenty of moments like that. I didn't have anywhere to go. And a lot of times I was I was honestly putting 100 on 10, fam. Like it wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be. I was the one that was creating the narratives that I wasn't allowed to do anything. I can't live. I can't do anything. And, God forbid now these days it's even worse because you're dealing with so many social media tags and places where people are just throwing around all kind of buzzwords. And before you know it, you start associating your parents with that and they don't even fit that bill. And that's not to say that they don't or they can't. But sometimes we just, oh, they're narcissistic, they're controlling, they're this and that. And it's like, nah, they're not that. They're not that. Can they be overprotective? Yeah. Can they be doing a lot? Yeah. Can they even be acting from their traumas? Yeah. But it's not something that we need to figure out or we need to have an answer to or we need to like confront them on. Cause like, again, it's us coming from a place where we think we know more than we do. And I think what we are up against is just, man, we're zooming so far into what we don't have that we're forgetting what we do have as a result of living at home. We are forgetting some of the even the smallest things that we can be grateful for that actually is playing a role in us being here and being okay and having food in our tummy, not going hungry. Even though I'm not able to go out and do all the things and I feel like I'm in jail, that's kind of the story that we're rehearsing that's connected to the parents' behaviors, not necessarily because that's what it actually is. And so like, you know, yeah, but again, I don't know to that extent, user, right? So I can't really speak to that. And that sounds like it's a lot more at stake there. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like what you've described so far, I mean, again, there could be a whole lot more. So that's why I'm not even jumping into that lane. Um, but I think it's important for us to just revisit, hey, what else could this mean? What else could this moment mean that we are staying in our parents, we're living with our parents, we're 18, you know? Hey Ash, good to see you, sis. How you feeling today? Yeah. But I remember feeling what you're describing. And so that's why I'm so like intentional with what I'm saying here because I remember that. I remember the times I used to think my parents were the worst. And it's taken me and here's the thing, right? So even now as I'm 26 years old, I'm having to catch those moments where I'd be so quick to just associate my parents' approach to things and how they're moving. I have to catch it. I had to catch it because there was a day where I used to just associate so many different meanings to their behaviors towards me. And that wasn't even what it was, but it was just how I survived. It was how I coped. It was how I lived through those moments. For example, again, I told you I grew up with parents that were very strict. We weren't allowed to go places and do things. At least I won't say allowed to go places and do things like we were in jail. We weren't. We had friends. We were able to hang out with people. It was just a certain group of people, right? It was a certain places that we were able to go, right? So that's why I'm saying when we zoom out, it's not as massive and as crazy as we may make it. But I remember, become that's kind of where my homebody tendencies initially came from. Like I'm a homebody at heart now, but it wasn't always like that. I used to like going out places and doing things with my hood rat friends and all the things. And when I got into high school, like all that got shut down. Not because I did something crazy, but like, yeah, just like there was a lot of times where I was asking to go places and my parents' responses were, if y'all live in a black household, y'all are probably familiar with it. There were statements like, we'll see, right? Or, they'll ask and then they'll like, I don't know, we'll talk about it. But we'll never come back around, right? The conversation will never happen. And then when you ask them again the second or third time, now they just respond reactively as if like you're getting on their nerves. And if you ask me again, the answer is no. And like they don't put any time or attention into focusing in on it. And so then by the time the day comes to for these plans that you've talked about and introduced to come through, right? Um, Now all of a sudden it's like nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? And so like again, I'm speaking from my experience. Like I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm done. I'm over asking. I'm over asking to go places because I'm now associating it to always mean no. You're gonna tell me no because of some information you feel like you need to know that you really don't need to know, right? At least that's what I'm telling myself. You don't need to know, but you tell yourself you need to know. And so like I think it's just better if I just don't ask. I just need to stop asking, stop going places, and I'll just settle in at home. So that's when I started engaging in gaming, online gaming. I became very, very involved in gaming in that way. That was my way of going. And then, when I started playing sports and locking in on basketball, that was kind of my way of being able to get out the crib. I even remember associating stories like that, like shoot, at least through basketball, I'm able to get out the crib. Like because my whole focal point and thought process was like, man, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to move out. I can't wait to do it because that was my thinking process. Freedom is on the other side of anything dealing with this house. That was what I told myself. And that stuff carried with me for some years. And I had to do some intentional, challenging of those thoughts. And then, as life would have it, when I graduate college, I don't have any jobs lined up for me that's 100K a year that I'm able to just go and do. Like when I graduated college, no job offers. I had maybe two job interviews, and I'm over here thinking I'm behind, I'm anxious, I'm all the things. And all this stuff had a beginning root from various stories I was telling myself out of survival with living at home. That get this wasn't as bad as I was creating it out to be. And I think one of the greatest lessons that you can get being 18 years old, where you are right now, even though where you are and your living situation may not be the best, it may not be grade A, it may not be top tier. And I'm not speaking from a place of knowing everything that you're going through. So please take this with a grain of salt, apply it where it fits. But from what you've described, it just sounds like there's a lot of stories that we're amplifying with our experience with our parents, that if we just took a moment to zoom out and just like, what am I grateful for? What what is happening in this season of life that I can actually be grateful for, instead of constantly zooming so far into what I don't have, what I can't do, what they're not allowing me to do, what my brother is withholding me from doing, all the things. We might have a different approach to this season. We might. And I would also challenge you in saying this. Your now is not your always. Like there's a day coming where you're not going to be living with your parents and you're going to have your own and you're going to be married and you're going to do all the things. And when that time is, I don't know. But it's less about the fact of us trying to create a timeline of like, okay, so I need to have this all figured out by the time I'm 21, by the time I'm 30. But let's not create a timeline with it. I think the point is we get there. And I want you to look at this. I just want you to find the opportunities that are here because a lot of this is going to be challenging for you. You came from the same, yeah, it's lessons. Yeah, there you go. It's lessons. And so like I want you like the same household that we're looking at that you were raised in, and there's a lot of, you mentioned, they're reacting from their traumas and things like that. I mean, there's a great chance that those traumas trickle down to you too. Living in the same home, although having different experiences and meanings, sure, it's very possible that those same traumas in some way were impacting you and where you are. And so, like, this is a moment where you might find yourself engaging in practices of growing and healing in ways that your family members won't even do. They don't know how to do, they won't do, and they're not in accesses to conversations like this. They're not access to different spaces like this, and you're getting a leverage on a lot of different things just hearing this, that maybe your parents and brother may never have and never did have. And with as an infamous passage of scripture from a biblical perspective comes into play. I know that's not necessarily your lane, but something that makes me think of it: to whom much is given, much is required. And so like, I think these are moments and lessons that we can learn from or we can grow in. And I just want you to look at what do you have? What is the abundance? What are you surrounded by? And what can you be grateful for? And I think if you move in your day starting there, I think over time you're going to see yourself not be so caught up in what you can't do. And you're going to find the winning formula and value behind what you are able to do. And knowing too that again, there's a day coming where you're going to be able to date and meet people, and it's not going to be because you're behind. If you don't do it until you're, in your later 20s, that doesn't mean you're behind. I wasn't allowed to date all my years of high school, and that stuff carried it with me up through college, honestly. I tried it, but I was doing it out of fear of missing out. Honestly, I was doing the dating apps at that time because I remember being told when I was in a freshman year in high school from a friend of mine who was a female. She looked me dead in my face and she said she thought I was gay because she didn't see me do things the way that other guys in school were doing it. You know what I mean? And so, like, a lot of stuff that I was doing came from fear of missing out and making sure other people wouldn't look at me in that same way. And I mean, yeah, I wasn't dating. And the first actual genuine attempt at dating that was intentional didn't come till I was like 22. And instead of looking at that and being like, man, I'm so far behind, I can't do. No, I'd look at that as a privilege because there's so many things that I was able to engage in, I was able to be challenged by. And for that, I'm so much better and so much ahead and so much more mature for what I'm actually wanting to cultivate and create in the right relationship I want to build. So it's like, there's variety of perspectives we can attach to this. I just want you to be open. Just be open. I know it's not the best situation. I know it's not the funnest. I know it's not the greatest. I know you're not able to do what all your other friends want to do, and it feels like your parents and caregivers just got you locked up, But again, let's zoom out for a second. I get it feels like that, and what are we missing? What can we start showing gratitude for that we are actually beneficiaries of because we're here? Not everything is going to be perfect, and you're not behind. And I get you. I get you. And it's tough, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. And I think the difference between the version of you that survives this season and the version of you that um and the version of you that is actually, you know, um thriving and abundant and at peace and isn't necessarily trying to fight your parents and caregivers to, you know, finally do certain things and all that. Like, I think the difference between where you are and that version of you that is very secure and upbeat is the story that you're telling yourself in this season. That's the difference. Not that you need to move out. You need to hurry up. No, no, no. We run the race that God has set before us. We're not in comparison with anybody. We're not in comparison with anybody. And we're not here to hurry ourselves out of a position. So that's why I'm so grateful you caught yourself and you're like, hey, I guess the only way to get out is marriage, but I'm not ready for marriage. I'm glad you caught that. We don't want to hurry into other destinations and places that we're not ready for all because we don't like where we are, right? It's not preferred. However, it's not something that we can't deal with. And this is a moment where we're able to challenge that. And it's going to come with some bumps in the road. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have frustrating days. You're going to have days where you're going to be like, oh, I wish I was out of here again. But let's center back on abundance. And let's stop giving our surrounding people and surrounding experiences, even our parents and caregivers, so much power over us. And I think this is a great test for us to be able to embrace that challenge. It's uncomfortable, but you're talking to somebody who had to do that and get this user, sis. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful I didn't leave. I didn't leave any earlier than I wanted to. I'm so grateful that I'm still here in abundance of ways. And that the season is almost up. Like the season, I know it's coming, but it's no longer from a place of I need to get out of here because that's where the peace is and that's where I'm going to be able to enjoy my life and have freedom. No, no, no. Now it's like no, it'll be time to go. But it'll be a leaving and a departure that is filled with contentment and gratitude for how I stewarded this season. How I learned to engage with my family, how I learned to lean in with them and love them, serve them, pour into them. That's going to be the difference. And I'm forever grateful. And I think you'll be forever grateful too. Does that make sense? Challenge the story. You're all right. You're all right. Challenge the story. Look for abundance. Look for what you can be grateful for. Okay. You know, you're out in Sweden. I don't know what the economic status is out in Sweden, but here in the States, hey, nearly half of Americans under the age of 30 live with their parents. Matter of fact, the statistic reads that nearly half of Americans live with at least one parent that are under 30. It's like the economy is real. And so, yeah, I mean, people will tell you. Shout out to Ash in the chat. She just said, "Hey, if you live with your parents, I recommend you stay and save." Because pitching in that few $100s is a little different than having to come out of $2,000 or so every month. They move out at 18. Okay. Yeah. So again, like there's so many things that I can tell just from what you're describing briefly that play a role in the expectations and stories, like, oh man, everybody else is moving out at 18 and I feel behind. I don't want to feel behind. And that could possibly be a role. Not saying it is. I mean, I know I felt that. I told myself plenty of times watching cousins and family members move in at older ages while I was growing up. And I was like, I'll never in my life. Nah, fam. I'm gonna be out of here I just put a random number to it and I stuck to it because I just thought life was just gonna look so much different than where I am now. I really did. Like I thought by 23, I was gonna be moved out. I was gonna have my own. I was gonna be making bank. I was gonna be good. And in my mind, I was like, once I'm out of here, I'm gone. Deuces. Y'all ain't gonna hear from me. I'm good. And the whole time, without me knowing it, until I ran into it after graduating college at 23, and none of that happened, God was laughing at me the whole time because he had something else in store for me that was so much greater than what I thought I was going to get on the other side, man. And so that's why I'm grateful that like y'all wouldn't even know me if any of that came to true. If any of that came to pass, not a soul would know me on the internet. I would be a ghost. I would be a whole ghost. Y'all wouldn't know me for nothing. And look at what the Lord has done. So I'm done ranting. I hope that made sense. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for asking your questions. Thank you for being patient with me. I hope it was helpful. All right. So we actually have 9 more minutes left. I saw that there was a question. Man, I wish I could get to you, man. I don't. You're from Indonesia. Can you ask me something out of the box? Listen, book a session. I offer I saw your message. I offer consultations, just navigating life, man. Whether that's relationships, that's emotions, that's finances, that's your faith. I'm pretty sure it can't be out of the dimension of the 4 dimensions that we rock with: faith, relationships, energy, and finances. And so, definitely hit the link in my bio if you're ready to book a session. I'm excited to connect with you because I don't think I'll have time to address it fully. I would hate for you to be in the middle of that and then cut it off because I have a hard cutoff in like 8 minutes. But I can definitely do a rapid fire questions. Okay. For anybody who's in the chat, I appreciate you guys showing up. Happy Saturday to you. I want y'all to enjoy the rest of your Saturdays for sure. But yeah, any questions, any thoughts? I'm down for them. Rapid fire. Okay. The lesson for today and the thought on my TikTok. Okay. I want to go ahead and point you guys to these resources now so I can finish up. If you're ready to book a session, it takes one conversation to make a difference between where you are and where you're going. All right. And so be sure to head over to the top of my page, click that Linktree link, book your one-on-one session. All right. And I think one conversation is sometimes all we need to get from where we are to where we want to be, and make a massive difference in our life, whether that's in relationships, that's in your finances, that's in your energy and health, physically, mentally, that's in your faith, whatever it is. Okay. We're here to talk about it and process it together. Also in that same link, be sure to click that if you want your free relational diagnostic. Okay. One of the first steps to becoming securely attached is to be able to reveal the truth about all the things that you're experiencing in your relationships and how much deeper the things are that are ruining and running your relational life. All right. So be sure to get that. When you finish it, you'll take a questionnaire. It's about 40 questions or so, 11 levels of it, but really good, really in depth. And so you'll get that free relational diagnostic. That's yours. And then you'll be able to book a free qualification call based off of the answers you give. Once you click book free qualification call button, you'll finish that qualification section, answer those questions, and then you'll actually have next steps on what the program would be most fitting for you to be able to heal and move forward. So be sure to do that. And be sure to stick close to the channel, follow for more. I got content going out daily and all the things. All right. So I want to finish this up. What's up, Coquise? Good to see you, sis. Hope all is well. Contentment is the difference, y'all. That's the theme. As y'all can tell through the whole conversation we just shared. The contentment is the difference. Contentment is the difference between the version of you that thrives in the season you're in and the version of you that's constantly surviving. Contentment and abundance is the difference between you crawling day to day and you being able to enjoy where you are regardless of what the day brings. Contentment is the difference between you silently suffering in your singleness and you enjoying your singleness and enjoying it so much so that it, out of the abundance that you carry, it actually attracts the person that you might spend the rest of your life with. Contentment is the difference between you feeling like you're enough and you constantly questioning if you're enough. It's the difference between you living a life where you're constantly believing you're the placeholder for other people in relationships and being able to see that you add life to every relationship you build. And that actually gives you permission to date healthily and love again and live again. It's the difference between being stuck in the heartbrokenness that you're experiencing and you being able to get your spark back. It's the difference. It's the difference. And I really speak so highly on this level of contentment, something that I'm practicing and practicing more and more. I encourage you guys to join me on the journey of practicing more and more. Because it's so easy for us to focus on lacking what we don't have, what we haven't completed, what we aren't doing enough of. And all of us have a laundry list of what those things look like. But my question to you is, what are you doing enough of? What right things are you doing? Okay. And not even just that, right? But what do you have around you that you can be grateful for? What do you have around you that you can be grateful for? And I know that there's so many things going wrong, but just because there's so many things going wrong doesn't mean nothing is going right. Remember, the experience that you focus on, where you put your focus is actually the life you're experiencing. Lack and abundance is everywhere, but where you put your focus is ultimately what you're experiencing. And so we have opportunities every day to engage in that. And I want y'all to do that. Choosing to see the best in things is actually new to me. I feel you, Coquise. I think it's new for a lot of people. I think this is a season where a lot of people are recognizing, like, no matter how bad you want to speak something into existence, or you want to claim that you can just get online and just speak into the atmosphere and it'll show up. Like, people are real. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Cookies, but I'm just saying I think there's a lot of people that are realizing that ain't working. And I think a lot of people, and I'm hoping a lot of people are coming to the realization that sometimes the season of life you're in is serving as a mirror. It's serving as a mirror for you to be able to investigate the areas of lack you're still living by that have been kind of controlling your every move. But this season has amplified it more than ever. This breakup has amplified it more than ever. This ghosting has amplified it more than ever. This rejection, this anxiousness, this hurry, this failure, this business, this job. Okay, like, it's amplified it more than ever. And so instead of trying to force ourselves into various different seasons and trying to move ahead and trying to outrun certain things, like, I just want you to stay put and ask yourself, man, what is this exposing in me? And then how can I look at this a little bit differently than how I have? Look at all possibilities. It's not about being right or wrong. The game is not about trying to make every decision in the lanes of right and wrong. That's not the win. The win is being aligned. And sometimes in order to get to that alignment, we have days where they aren't the best. We have days where they aren't the funnest. We have days that aren't the most exciting. but that doesn't mean we're not making progress. That doesn't mean we're not making leaps and bounds. That doesn't mean that we're not changing, we're not growing. All of that is happening, right? When a gardener plants a seed, he's not questioning the legitimacy of the seed because when he planted it on day 1, it didn't grow into something on day 2. And it didn't grow into something on day 3 and 4. Even though he's watering and he's doing all the things, he doesn't look at that as a waste of time, nor is he looking at that and saying, wow, I'm doing all this work, but nothing's happening. So I guess I'm not a good gardener. I guess I'm not doing the right things. I guess I'm messing up. I'm a failure and coated with all this shame and guilt. No, no, no. He understands the magnitude of the process of development. There's a reason why when a baby is put in the womb, it takes 9 months before it's to be delivered. Of course, you have preemie babies, right? And sometimes you have babies that are delivered a little bit past the 9 months. But notice how the baby has to bake in the oven. The baby doesn't grow into everything it's supposed to be the night of conception. That's why you typically don't figure out that you're pregnant until, after you start noticing some signs, and it's been a week, it's been about a couple days or a week before some stuff start happening, right? Because it's development. A seed was planted, but it doesn't mean it's not being developed in darkness, in moments where everything isn't being seen and shown. It's growing. All work works, whether it works for you or it works in you. And this has been one of the most freeing things that allowed me to be able to be in seasons where I had nothing and still show up, believe I'm rich, and move forward. These seasons that I've experienced over the last 6 years of my life have been so life-changing, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. If you told me relive these last 6 years, or do something, not relive. What am I trying to say? If you were to tell me, I'll give you $1 million if you just give away all the life lessons you've gained from the last 6 years of life, man, I wouldn't take it. I don't care how financially free that'd make me. I wouldn't take it because I just wouldn't have the level of maturity, stability, and growth I do now. And that's the kind of abundance that I think is available for all of us in the season of life we're in. I know it's not favorable. I know it's not what you were expecting. I know you thought you'd be somewhere different. Contentment is the difference. Contentment is the difference. All work works, whether it works on you or it works for you. It may work for you because it's advancing you, and it's working in you because you may not be seeing the progress, but it doesn't mean you're not making it. When you go to the weight room and you finally decide to, get some shape, get in shape after, just kind of chilling and enjoying yourself and enjoying all the good food. When you go to the gym for the first time for the first week, we typically like to look at that and look at the mirror and be like, dang, bro, we ain't seeing no progress. That must mean the gym ain't working. No. We just got to keep going. We just got to keep showing up. We got to keep doing the exercises. We got to make it a routine. We got to be consistent because by month 3, you're going to start to see them cuts. You're going to start to see the definition. You're going to start to see that ab come in. You're going to start to see the weight loss. You're going to start to feel better and feel different. But we can't expect that on week 1 when we ain't been to the gym all year. We got to expect that by month 3. Delayed gratification. It makes all the difference. And I think you'll be so grateful when you start looking at things as opportunities, investments, invitations, and more importantly, with gratitude and abundance. Always be joyful. Never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is the will of God to those who are in Christ Jesus. Always be joyful. That's a life of contentment. Never stop praying. That's remaining in a prayer life with God, walking with him day in and day out. Be thankful in all circumstances. Gratitude. Gratitude. If you want to know if you're walking in God's will, are you grateful? Are you content? And do you have a prayer life? Matter of fact, I might even simplify it more. Are you grateful? Are you living a life of content? And are you present? Everything else is a decision. So, contentment is the name of the game, folks. Let's lock in with it. I think the rest of your year looks a lot different when we just actively, practically engage in gratitude. The rest of your 2026 has a way of looking different if we just engage in that. I'm not saying you're about to get $1 million. I'm not saying you're going to get married. I'm not saying your whole life now is going to do a whole 180 and things are just going to start looking up. I don't know that. I do know that when we practice these things, your internal world gains leverage over the external. So now you're no longer thrown to and from based on what is happening for your life externally. But regardless of what happens externally, you're able to look at it from an internal lens with an approach that allows you to keep the peace God's already given you. And that's my message for today. I hope that's helpful. I hope that makes sense. All right. I appreciate you guys a ton checking out the stream, being here for another Saturday reset. Thank you so, so much. And listen, be sure to pay attention to new content that's coming up. All right. More vlogs as we're going through our journey of dating securely and all the things. Be sure to go to the top of my page and click that Linktree bio or Linktree link to book your one-on-one session. All right. One conversation is the seed that makes the difference between where you are and where you're trying to go. And there's so much that we can cover in 60 minutes with practicality to get you moving forward. You do not have to cry alone again tonight. You do not have to live in your anxious thoughts again tonight. You do not have to live in the overwhelming tendencies that you're so used to out of survival again tonight. You have a solution. So why not invest in it to actually get the help you need? Okay. We're in this together. So let's work through it together. Book your session. Go to the top of my page over on TikTok, click that link tree and book your one-on-one call. YouTube, go into the YouTube video description and book your session from there. Okay. Get your free relational diagnostics, same link. Okay. On the top of the page for those of you on TikTok and Instagram, becoming-secure.com. Be sure to do that. And link is in the description for those of you on YouTube. And yeah, pay attention to new content, all the things. If you can't do any of that, be sure to follow for more. All right. You are able to watch the stream replays over on my YouTube. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow me on all platforms as content is just going out by the dozens every day across all platforms. All right. So you might see something over on Instagram that you won't see over on TikTok. You might see something on TikTok you won't see over on YouTube. You will definitely see plenty of stuff on YouTube that you're not going to get on TikTok. A lot of my long form teachings and things like that, breakdowns over there on my YouTube. Okay. User 282. How do I attach myself from someone, man? I'm speaking directly to a lot of stuff I teach over there on my YouTube channel. But man, I think to summarize that, you might be shoot, we out of time. Book that call. We'll unpack that because there's a lot of things that we can do to do that to get you back on track and get your spark back and to get you to a place of living healthily and whole without being so attached to outcomes and other people. So be sure to book your call. Go to the top of my page and click that link to book that one-on-one session. Okay. And that is if you're aged, by the way. I don't know who you are. I don't, I don't work with anybody, younger than 18 for legal purposes, by the way. So, just throwing that out there as well. And I'm 19. Okay. I got you. I appreciate you. So yeah, go to the top of the page, book your session, and I'll be happily ready to work with you and help you through that process, no doubt. And yeah, I'm excited to see you guys on the books and spending some time with me. All right, we'll be back with another stream Monday. We should be back with another stream on Monday. Stay up to date, follow so you can pay attention to the story post if anything changes. And yeah, go enjoy your Saturday. I'm gonna enjoy mine. Until next time, be easy and be breezy, my friends. Peace. Take it easy. TikTok or Instagram, YouTube. Be easy.